Dave Roberts is the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers, the two-time defending champions in Major League Baseball, the Dodgers. Dave, how you doing?
Buster, I'm doing well. Here at Camelback Ranch. Just finished our team meeting, and then here, and guys are trickling in as far as the position players. We've already had a handful of days with the pitchers and catchers. So tomorrow's our first full squad workout. So like every camp around Florida and Arizona, there's a sense of optimism, and we're in that bucket. Everyone's excited.
All right, so I know you and I have talked about this before, how you were a huge fan of the Showtime Lakers. And you remember the Lakers after they won their first, they won the 87 championship. Pat Riley immediately challenged them and talked about going back to back at the parade. And he would find different ways to communicate with players in the offseason to try to nudge them, right? And to try to push them forward. How did you do that in this offseason? How do you like to do that?
Yeah, you know what? I think that we fortunately, like the Lakers, have the same core of guys, same coaching staff, same players. And so then I think that that familiarity is a positive in the sense that they know our standard or expectations. But the other side of it is, do you get is it commonplace? Is there room for complacency? I think for me is trying to keep that carrot out there to do something that is unprecedented, certainly in our game. um, I think for me, Buster, it's team, individual, really appreciating that it is a marathon, um, that we work the right way, keep our goals, but I think still getting back to focusing on each day. And I think I've learned that when you can do that and get to the micro, then all the other good stuff falls out of that, all-star games, winning world championships. And I think our guys do a good job of kind of keeping the bumper lanes on as good as anybody.
How do you do that? What did you say to them in the meeting today?
Well, I think for me, it's about um, the the precision, the expectations, trying to raise the level of play and practice. I think that every organization, player has a certain standard that they have, but I think it's important for coaches to try to get players to be uncomfortable with what standards they have for themselves. Because for the most part, unless you're Clayton Kershaw, Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady, most of those standards aren't high enough. And I think trying to push guys to a higher standard, I think is beneficial for everyone. So I think for me, it's really trying to push guys, make guys uncomfortable this spring and throughout the year. And I'm excited talking to you right now, but there is a certain demeanor that I want to exude early on, as far as kind of uh, how do I say it? I don't want to. It's not stoic. It's not angry, but it's intense, and I want to kind of have some type of intensity to keep guys focused on we haven't done anything yet in 2026.
So, in keeping with that, was that part of the reason why, when you think about, players, great players, Hall of Fame level players being, being uncomfortable and how that can be a good thing? Is that part of the reason why, like, you embrace Mookie Betts' effort to play shortstop,
I do. I,
right?
I do.
Last year.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Buster. And I do think that, you mentioned Mookie. So he's a Hall of Famer. He could have sat in right field for his entirety of his career, collected gold gloves, but he wanted a challenge for himself. And with that, it was in line with our ball club because it opened up the outfield. And so for him to take on the challenge for himself, playing second base and then shortstop, I think that's helped him as a ball player as well as helped the Dodgers. And I think even Shohei, you know, I think being able to pitch and hit is something that challenges him personally. which makes him a better baseball, which certainly makes the Dodgers better that he's a two-way player. So I think, some players have that individual, what makes them uncomfortable to challenge them, but all the while keeping that North Star on. The ultimate thing is to win a championship in 2026.
Another example maybe was from yesterday when Shohei Ohtani met with reporters. He brought up the idea of winning a Cy Young Award. We talked about in the podcast with Tim Kirchin yesterday. I mean, practically speaking, that's a hard thing for him to do because the number of starts he's going to make. But when you hear something like that, how do you take that? That Shohei's talking about winning a Cy Young Award.
But I think that that's something that I can appreciate when a player talks about things like that, and they're willing and know what it takes to put in the work. Um, so you know, there's anyone can talk about winning an MVP or winning a Cy Young, but that takes work, intentional every day. And he is a person that is very disciplined, very focused, and so I like that he tries to set, a standard, a bar, an expectation for himself to, achieve. And so he's checked essentially every box you can check as a baseball player, but that Cy Young is something that he hasn't got yet. So I love that he's chasing that. And I think Yamamoto obviously is going to be in that conversation this year as well.
So, what did you say to the guys in the first day? What was sort of the theme, and how did you prepare that?
Well, this was the first day so far, Buster, was pitching. It was more driven on the pitching and the catchers who are in camp. So that's more on, how we work. Pitching is the driver, and that's what leads to championships. And appreciating, we had probably 60 pitchers throw a pitch for us last year. So you look around the room and most of these guys are going to have an opportunity to pitch major league innings for us. And you don't know who the next Justin Robleski or Will Klein's going to be, and you got to be prepared for it. That's one thing. And then also, tomorrow's the big sort of everyone's there. And I think the messaging obviously is to try to, you know, how we get to where we want to get to. And I'm going to go into that. But also, I will say this, though, Buster, a meeting that 30 major league managers are going to have tomorrow or whatever day their first day is, the follow through is the most important. So there's a lot of talk on the first day of spring training, but the separator is how you execute every day. And when you're in June or when you're in August, is that same message that you kind of laid the foundation still landing with your players? And that's the most important thing.
You had 12 different pitchers give you saves last year. So when you're talking to the players, the pitchers and catchers today, you're looking around the room and Edwin Diaz is there. He's one of the best closers in baseball. I don't know if you specifically incorporated him into what you're talking about, but tell me what your first impressions are of him.
One of my first impressions is he's a very good teammate. And we dug on him from coaches, players, his former teammates, obviously, and he's a great competitor. He loves baseball. He chose to be a Dodger and left money on the table because he wanted to be a part of what we've done. Um, I think obviously having a guy at the back end makes my job considerably easier. You don't have to worry about matching him up. And then watching him throw his pen 2 days ago, just the way his body moves, it's really special. The ball comes out, it's electric stuff. And so then you can sort of understand why it's so uncomfortable versus right versus left and how he's been so good for so long. So I'm excited to get to know him a little bit more. And it's good when I look around the clubhouse and the field when I see him, talking to his teammates, getting familiar with them. But, I didn't expect to, sign a great closer in Edwin this offseason. But, with him and Tucker, we made a great team even better. So, I tell our guys, what makes a good coach or manager? Good players. And we got a lot of good players.
You and I talked a few weeks ago about Kyle Tucker joining your lineup. What are the ways you're thinking about maybe incorporating him into your lineup? In other words, what's your alignment at the top? And would you ever think about moving Shohei out of leadoff spot?
I think I'm going to keep kicking it around, thinking about it. He's comfortable there. He likes it. Granted, he's going to pitch more this year than he has with us because of his buildup, and he's in a good spot. Right now, I'm going to start Shohei probably in the leadoff spot. So I think with that, that puts Tuck in the 2 or the 4 with Mookie sandwiched in there somewhere. He's a guy that hits left just as well, if not better than he does right, which is certainly unique, and a guy that just grinds at bats. So there's the ability to get on base, drive runs in, slug. So I'm trying to really think through how that works with the dynamic construct of our lineup, but we still got some time.
All right. So the guy over my right shoulder here, you probably recognize the picture.
Sandy
That's Sandy
Koufax.
Koufax. uh, I'm curious about we saw him during the World Series. He was staying throughout that 18-inning game. What's your dynamic with him? Because I know you've gotten to know him a little bit. And
We're
how did he
friends.
respond to you guys winning again?
We're friends. He texts me often to just check in on me, encourage me. When he pops into Dodger Stadium, I'm the first stop coming to my office, and we talk baseball. And even that picture right there, looking at that picture, he holds that rubber so long. And we talk about extension so much now, but like, look how long he holds that rubber to get extended out there. And we talk pitching, and he's I just, for me, Buster, I love, having Sandy Koufax, talk to our guys, be around and have our guys do a deep dive on Sandy and what he meant for the game and how good he really was. But he's the best, best looking, in shape, 90-plus-year-old guy I know, man. And I feel honored that I can call him a friend.
All right, Dave. Well, thanks for doing this. I'll see you in spring training.
I'll see you soon, Buster. Take care. Thanks for having me.